Hello, middle school and high school families. My name is Amber Parks, and I am the Director of Writing with Design. And a part of Writing with Design is our work with middle school and high school students called ScholarBound. It all stemmed from my personal experience. When I was in the 8th grade, my mother was my US history teacher, which was fairly embarrassing, but she put up a competition. She put up an assignment that was also an essay competition in the classroom. And she said, look, everyone's going to have to apply to this because it's going to be for a grade, and maybe one of you will win. And it was an essay competition sponsored by the Veterans of Foreign Wars. The top prize was $100, and the prompt was, write about what democracy means to you. So I submitted my essay just like all my classmates. And guess what? I won. I won the $100. And I remember thinking, what else is out there? If I just spent 4 hours on this essay and I won $100, number one, my hourly rate of pay is pretty awesome. What is it? Yeah, 25 bucks an hour. And what else is out there? How much more money can I win just by writing? And so all through high school, I applied for every scholarship that I could find. That's how I spent most of my weekends in high school. And I have no regrets on that because I ended up getting to go to my dream school with everything paid for because of the scholarships that I won. Now, not all of them were academic based. They were writing based though. And so some of them were very, very creative projects and essays. And then some of them were based on academics. But what I want to share with you today are the tips and tricks of where I found a lot of my scholarships that I applied for. So I'm going to share this handout here that I have for you and that you'll get a copy of. But our work that we call ScholarBound is all about helping middle school and high school students find scholarships to be able to make college a reality. Now, it is way too late, in my opinion, to wait till senior year to start. If you are a senior, it's not too late in terms of finding scholarships, and there's a ton more that you can apply for once you're in your college, your first year of college and beyond. But if you are a middle school student, there's no better time to start. If you're a 9th grader, you still have all of high school ahead of you. And the earlier you begin, obviously, the more opportunity you'll have to find and apply for scholarships. So here's one thing to keep in mind: an impressive high school transcript and what it includes. And this fits the bill in any state, Oklahoma included. Oklahoma, for example, only requires 2 years of a single foreign language, but just to go that extra step and really become multilingual is such a powerful, powerful tool. So for those of you who are multilingual already, this is something where you have such a head start and can just grow your skills in both your native language as well as English. And if you're a native English speaker, it's an opportunity to show that your appreciation and understanding of additional cultures, and it makes you just that much more desirable for not only colleges, but for the job force as well. It's important to think about taking rigorous classes if you do want to be competitive for academic scholarships. So that might be AP classes, it might be IB classes, or at least advanced classes, and at least in a couple different areas. Not every class has to be AP, but the more that you show that you can handle heavy workloads, the better that you present yourself to potential colleges. Dual enrollment is another option. Oklahoma has wonderful opportunities for dual enrollment, and I'll provide some websites that you can go to, and certainly reach out to your high school counselor because within your area, they should be able to help you figure out what universities and colleges, and even some online throughout our state, how they can help you take some classes as young as 8th grade. So again, middle school students, you will thank yourself as a college student, and certainly when you're out in the workforce, if you begin all of this heavy lifting work and preparation for your future as early as possible. And then one thing to think about is taking something in summer. So sometimes summer school is considered just for students who have failed a class, but I also encourage students to think about taking, especially something like a lab science that's really intense. Take that over the summer and get that out of the way. Even if you take it as a dual enrollment class where you can get a college credit and high school credit, think about doing it over the summer where everything, it just has a little bit of a slower pace, and you're able to really devote your attention to that complex science. When it comes to your application for colleges, and most of them will be due your senior year, the first semester of your senior year. But again, that's not the time to start looking for them or start to think about what you'll put in the applications. The earlier that you can begin to look at college applications, the better. There is no reason that as a freshman, you can't take a look at what Cameron University requires on their application, right? So go ahead and take a look at it. You can contact the admissions office directly at the universities where you're interested, or reach out again to your high school counselors. And if anybody tells you, don't worry about that yet, you can just email me and I will help you out because I want to make sure that you can see the applications and start to game plan as early as possible. We do want you to be conscious of your GPA, your grade point average, because there are no do-overs starting in ninth grade. So every class, every credit, every grade counts from ninth grade on. So the more that you can focus on keeping your grades up, the more that you prove your track record to colleges. The difficulty of your classes also comes into play. So if you make a B in an advanced class versus someone who makes an A+ in a basic class, that is looked at differently. Colleges certainly like to see students who are challenging themselves with advanced classes if that fits for you. If basic is where you thrive, then stay in basic classes and knock them out of the park, and you will impress them in other ways as well. So taking rigorous academics is one way to stand out, but it is not the only way. So I'm not here to just say you have to be the smartest cookie in the class in order to go to college. That simply is not true. But for those who do thrive in advanced classes, then please take them, as many as you can handle and handle well. Start taking the SAT and ACT. That's the other big tip in terms of your application, because some schools have hard cutoffs, meaning if you score less than a 25 on the ACT, some schools just won't look at your application, no matter how amazing you might be. And that's just a sad fact of just the sheer number of applicants that might be coming in. So make sure that you are looking at the ACT and the SAT. You're taking practice exams. You can take free practice exams all the time. I'm sure at your high school they provide it sometimes, but you can even check out books from the library. If you go and ask the librarian to help you find practice ACT and SAT books, then I'm sure that there will be a whole section for you to peruse and to begin to go through and answer questions, and more to learn test taking tips than to just plow through the test after test after test. Learn the strategies, learn the tips, learn the ways that the ACT or the SAT are put together so that you can maximize your score in terms of how it showcases your intelligence. I truly think, last thing on that you should think about your junior year as the time that you really dedicate to getting your ACT or SAT score as high as you can. Senior year, it's just one more thing that feels like a ton of pressure. And it really, it puts kind of a very finite timeline on actually getting the score that you want. So take it as many times as you can your sophomore and junior year. They will count the highest, and let your junior year really be the time that you get the score that you want. So moving on to your essays and recommendation on the application, it's so critical that you start to keep an idea log. So write down things that, when you think about big terms like courage or determination or something that's taught you perseverance or a new skill, write those ideas down, because it's much easier to come up with them now than it is when you are feeling pressure to put something on paper for an application. The other is to really pay attention in English class. Having strong grammar, having impressive sentences, all of that matters in terms of the style and the presentation of the writing that you submit. I do love to work with students on their essays, so please feel free to reach out and let me give you some tips and feedback on how to strengthen it. And then the other point on that is one I mentioned earlier. Go ahead and look at the applications. Go ahead and look at the essay questions. You don't have to wait till senior year. There's nothing secretive about it. You can look now and start to think about and put your ideas down to paper. The other thing is that I would think about approaching your English teachers to say, hey, I'm working on this. I know I'm a sophomore, but I'm working on these application essays right now. Can I receive some extra credit, or can I do this instead of this other assignment? And I guarantee you, your teachers will be impressed. You definitely want to have some strong teacher or counselor recommendations. And so the more that you can provide them to put in the letter, the better. So some key points about you, some particular preferences or highlighted moments that they can capitalize on and write about would be really helpful to share instead of just walking up to them and saying, can you please write me a recommendation letter? The second point on that is to give them plenty of time. So don't ask for a recommendation letter the week that it's due. We need to give our references at least a couple of weeks to write the letter, and don't be afraid to provide them a template. Sometimes it's hard to write about yourself, but that's a wonderful strategy to just make sure that our references have the time to really make the letter shine and make it their own, but that you also are looking at what it is that they are going to be, or giving them ideas of what they can put into the letter. And that piece in orange is so important. Be sure to thank them every time that they are writing you a recommendation letter. When it comes to extracurricular and volunteering, I can't tell you how important that is. There are some scholarships that that is the baseline requirement, is that you do service work. So the Coca-Cola scholarship, for example, which is always due on Halloween. So seniors, you still have time to get this one in. The very first level of that application is simply a spreadsheet of all the service work you completed in your entire high school career. So what does that mean for you who are in 7th and 8th grade? Those of you who are freshmen, keep your log now. And if you're a senior, start plugging away and get all of your volunteer time and hours put together in a log. So that's what I have set up here, just to show you a very general way of doing this. This is exactly what I did when I was applying for all of my my scholarships. I just listed the volunteer activities. I had the dates that I did them, what hours I spent, if it was per week or the total, specific duties I had, what were successes or memories, because 4 years later, let's face it, sometimes that might be hard to remember. And then who was my sponsor, who was my director, so that I can go back and just, if I need to, if the scholarship needs to verify anything, or if I need to check in with them or ask them for a recommendation, I have all their information. When it comes to volunteer service, I don't just want you to do anything and everything. I want you to be strategic about this. Follow your passions and interests and let that be your guide for what you volunteer for. So here are some examples. If you like architecture, then build with Habitat for Humanity. If you are thinking about veterinary medicine, then go work at an animal shelter. Make yourself useful, and at the same time, begin to learn skills in the fields that you are interested in pursuing. And this is an absolutely wonderful way to not only stand out on your applications, but to also make sure that you can handle whatever it is the topic that you think you want to pursue. Because we all have known people who, think they want to be a nurse, and then they can't handle the sights and sounds and parts of nursing that are really hard to do. And we don't want you to find that out when you're in your senior year of college. Find it out now. Tweak and hone your interests now. So there's a lot of great websites that you're seeing down here at the bottom of this page about where you can go to find volunteer opportunities that match your interests. So sometimes it's hard to just know, where in the community can I volunteer? How can I put my passions into a service, a volunteer service? Well, these websites are a wonderful way to find organizations in your community that you may or may not know about. Moving on to scoping out schools, where to go. So one thing that I'd like you to think about is how far, or not limiting yourself to just schools that are right around where you live. I ended up going to school out of state, and it was one of the best things for me. So I'm not, and I'm not from Oklahoma. So I was in Mississippi when I graduated high school, and I went to school in Tennessee. So what I'm wanting to encourage here is that you don't limit yourself just to in-state, that it is fun just to stretch yourself a little bit and apply and dream big. Maybe California sounds pretty exciting. Maybe Montana with all their snow would be a great place for you. And so a great place to go and just kind of see where colleges, what kind of colleges are out there and how they rank based on different qualifications is this website right here, colleges.usnews.rankings and reviews. Or even if you just type in US News college rankings, they put out new ones every year. So I'm not looking for you to buy their subscriptions or look at, if a school drops from 2 to 7, that all of a sudden it's not a great school. But what I do want you to look at is, what tier of school fits for you, and what are some great schools that maybe you didn't even know existed. There are close to 5,000 colleges and universities in our country alone. And so the opportunities for you to find a fantastic place that you fit so beautifully is certainly, the odds of that are very high. And so I would love for you to explore. One thing too about private schools, they sometimes get a bad rap because of their price tag, but they also sit on huge endowments, which is lots and lots of money that have been given to them. And so that means they have a lot of scholarships to provide to students. So the sticker price is important to consider. I absolutely do not want anyone to take out student loans to be able to go to college. But at the same time, I do want you to not let the price tag deter you from at least trying and applying and seeing what happens. Okay, because oftentimes there's scholarship available at the private universities that seem to be so much more. Now, let's talk about finding money, finding scholarships. I have a tremendous list of resources for you here, but the first two are honestly the main two that I used. FastWeb, which is a strange name, but fastweb.com and scholarships.com. These two sites are fantastic because they're clearinghouses of scholarships. And please chat with your parents about financial information, about military service, because all of that comes into play at pulling scholarships that are applicable to you. So when you go to these sites and you fill out your profile, it then combs through the thousands and not millions yet, but thousands of scholarships that pertain to you, and it's going to provide you a list. Now, some of them will be a complete waste of your time. Don't do any that say the no essay scholarship, just give us all your information and you might win $2,000. That is just getting your information, and that's how they keep their site free. So please don't waste your time on those. Look for the scholarships that are going to actually be based on your talents and your skill sets, and that are going to reward you for being such a phenomenal high school student, and apply for those. So if you are an 8th grader or a 10th grader even, and you look for scholarships and they're not for your year now, they're for senior year, that doesn't mean you can't start to work on applications for it, work on the essay for it, because trust me, if you talk to any senior year comes very fast, and it's already, potentially halfway over by the time you're seeing this. So what I encourage you as a high school student, well before your senior year, and even as a middle school student, is you just start to think about ideas and begin to craft essays for these different competitions, even though you can't submit it yet for a year or 2 or 3 or 4. But talk to your teachers about submitting it for extra credit or in place of assignments, because this just gives you great motivation for looking for scholarships and having it count for something in your academics. On that note, I want to share a wonderful website it's from our State Department, and it is all of the writing contests that our Director of Secondary ELA knows about. So Jason Stevenson has listed out all of these scholarships, and notice some of them are for teenagers, some of them are for all ages, and some of them have scholarships involved with them. So take a look at any of these, and let's see even a law day writing contest for 1st through 12th grade. I'm just choosing this one randomly to even see what's here. But yes, look at this, a grand prize of $500 from all grade levels. So that means you as a 6th grader, you as a 9th grader could already win $500 to be able to go toward college. So it's incredible what's out there if you begin to look. And so this website is a wonderful one. All of these, again, are essay competitions. They go down as low as kinder, and certainly all the way up even to college level. So you seniors, there's hope. Even all of these for senior year and into college will be wonderful for you to peruse and to apply for. The other thing that I want to share with you is this database. Now, This is one that I've created that potentially or has all of these fantastic full tuition and merit-based scholarships. Some of them may not be in existence anymore. It's hard to keep up with all of the changes, but please just use this as a starting point for you to go through and see all of the different colleges and scholarships that are out there. So this is just an absolutely wonderful list of full tuition and merit-based scholarships by the different universities. So you can see all the names of the universities and then the scholarship right underneath it. Most of these are going to be private schools, but not all. So there are some from public schools as well, from state schools that you can certainly apply for. And the more you apply for, the better shot you have at getting some. One more tip well, two more tips actually, no, three more tips. I got 3 bullet points here. The first is in your junior year, I always recommend that you write to the admissions officer of schools that you are interested in applying to and telling them, hi, this is who I am. I'm taking these classes right now at my high school, and I'm interested in pursuing this career. And I would love to know about scholarships at your university, right? And that just puts you on their radar. And it also means that they're going to send you all this great information for you to look through and start to dream big about the possibilities of what school you might, or what scholarships might be available for you at your dream school. The second is don't send generic. You've got to do your research and make your essays for these scholarships stand out. I want you to think about that you are in a herd of zebras, right? Everybody's application is just a zebra out there in the herd. How is yours going to be the most colorful, the one that gets chosen, the one that's noticed? And those are tips and strategies that we'll talk about in future sessions. But just for you to even think about what is it? How can I share this story? What is it about me that I can put in this that's going to stand out? And it doesn't have to be grand ideas. One of my favorite essays that I read recently by a high school student was about video games and how he gets lost in playing video games. And that actually helped him discover his love of playing the piano because he wanted to learn the soundtracks from video games on the piano. Before that, he had struggled because he hated the classical compositions that his teacher was having him learn. And it felt like such a chore. But when he started to learn the theme songs from video games, he suddenly found his passion for playing an instrument. That is a fantastic essay. And that's nothing grandiose. That's him sitting and having a good time playing video games with his friends and realizing how it can impact a skill that he wants to grow as well. So parents, a little bit of homework for you. I'd like you to think about what qualities make your children stand out. So what are memories or experiences from their life that you feel really capture who they are? Sometimes essays will require that students go way back in their lives, or they can pull something from their early childhood to use for essays. So it's just a wonderful way for you to help identify your child's strongest traits. Also, to make time for campus visits. A lot of that can be done virtually right now, but even just going to different campuses, especially if it's not a state school or a school where you haven't visited in the past for a football game or because another relative has gone to school there, just to go check it out and get a feel for the campus. Universities are living, breathing communities, and you want to go on campus as much as possible to experience what it's like there. And then to just compile what richness you and your family have, being a multilingual family, having diverse backgrounds in your family, having military service, all of those interesting features. If you are an immigrant to the country, if your children are going to be the first to go to college, what is it that makes your family and your child unique? It's so important to just begin to brainstorm, because again, when it comes to writing an application or an essay, it's hard to think of it in the moment. But if you've got this bank and you've got this list that you can pull from, it just makes the writing piece so much better and easier. So lastly, I have my email there, amber@scholarbound.com or amber@writingwithdesign.com. They both come to me, but it's wonderful to get to know families. And especially if you go onto FastWeb and scholarships.com, you fill out the profile and you want to just strategize with me, I'm more than willing to do that. Or if you want me to take a look at any application that you have that you're getting ready to, or want to have some ideas for, or have someone proofread, I'm more than willing to do that as well. So thank you so much for tuning into our session about college and scholarship search. It is a game changer. It was a life changer for me. I didn't share at the beginning, but I'll share now. I ended up winning almost $300,000 by the steps and strategies that I've just shared with you. It was more than I needed to go to my dream school, and I had enough to even pursue graduate work with the money that I won in high school. So it drastically changed my life, and I encourage all of you to dream big, to apply for every scholarship you can, and to get started now, because there's no better time. You have no more time than you have right now to work on your college and scholarship applications. Happy writing.